What's up, guys? I am so excited. Today we're going to be talking about round one of the Stanley Cup Playoffs in 2024. Um, as of right now, our recording, there's only one series that is yet to be determined, and that is Game 7 of the Stars and the Golden Knights. But pretty much, I'm going to be going over each series in Game 1, or in round 1, and going over my predictions and how well they went, how terribly they went, because yeah, some of them were pretty bad. But, anyways, yeah, let's get right into it with the Rangers and the Capitals. As you can see as the background gameplay here, I am playing as the Rangers in my franchise mode in NHL 24. My home team is the Seattle Kraken, but if I were to pick a second favorite team, it would be the New York Rangers. That's why I'm playing as them as the franchise, because I got bored of playing as the Kraken. But when we look at this Rangers versus Capitals series, I predicted the Rangers would win in four, and that is exactly what they did. The Capitals really just could not stand a chance. Charlie Lindgren stood his ground for the most part, but at the end of the day, the Capitals just could not score. Alex Ovechkin, their leading scorer, one of the best goal scorers in NHL history, was held to 0 points the entire series, and that is just insane. I think the Rangers just looked phenomenal. These two teams split the season series 2-2, I believe, but it did not matter in the playoffs. I mean, the Rangers just had their number. They dominated each and every single game. I think the Rangers scored first a couple times, or I mean the Capitals scored first a couple times. Um, but I mean the Rangers were just the better team from beginning to end. Game 1 to game 4. The, I mean this was just a no-brainer. I picked the Rangers and the Canes to sweep both their series, and this was the one that ended up working out. Um, I hope the Rangers win it all. As like I said, they're my second favorite team. They looked good in round one. I am not sure how confident I am in them in round two, but we'll get to that when we talk about the next series, which is the Canes and the Islanders. Now, this series is really interesting because I originally said and predicted that this would be the most boring series out of all the round one matchups, and I said I probably wouldn't watch it this much. But honestly, for this, and this was the first playoff game out of any of them throughout the playoffs, this was number one. Um, and I thought that the Canes would sweep them, but not only did the Islanders win a game, but they put up a fight. Like you could say, you could make an argument that the Islanders outplayed the Hurricanes in game 1 and 2. Game 1 maybe not so much. Honestly, the Hurricanes they didn't get as much shots on goal, but they controlled the pace of the game a lot more, and just defensively, Freddie Anderson came up clutch, and the Hurricanes won that one, I think 3-1. But then game 2, Islanders go up 3-0, and they're just outplaying the Hurricanes in that entire game 2 up until the third period. And that's when you can just see the dog in the Hurricanes. They have the talent offensively to just make plays. They have the ice in their veins. They have the clutch factor, the offensive scoring capabilities that they have not had in years past in the playoffs, that they just absolutely have this year. Svechnikov being healthy, and additions like Evgeny Kuznetsov and Jake Gensel. This team is scary even when they go down 3-0 and are getting outplayed through the first two periods of the game. You saw it in game 2. They just have the dog in them to come back and win a game like that because they're just simply the better team than the Islanders. And going in when the series went back to the island, and the Hurricanes were up 2-0, I honestly predicted, obviously I had Canes in 4, but I thought that the Islanders would be able to take a game just off of the way that they played games 1 and 2. It felt like they were outplaying the Canes a little bit, and I thought they would at least be able to take a game at home. And to my surprise, the Hurricanes won game 3 and went up 3-0. But then, contradicting or supporting my previous statement, they ended up winning game 4 in overtime, unfortunately, so I didn't get the extra point from guessing the series correct. But I mean, the Islanders win game 4. The series is 3-1. There was no doubt in anybody's mind that the Hurricanes were going to close this series out in 5. Unfortunately, I didn't get the Canes in 4 correct, But I mean, this was a pretty dominant series by the Hurricanes. And when you look at the next round's matchup between the Hurricanes and the Rangers, and we're just going to talk about this briefly because this video is about round one matchups mainly. But when you look at the Rangers versus the Hurricanes, oh God, I mean, the Hurricanes are pretty heavily favored on Vegas, which surprises me. Um, I think they probably, the argument for them being favored is justified, but they're like minus 150, which is that's pretty heavily favored for the Rangers having home ice advantage and winning the President's Trophy. Um, I think it's going to be a close series, though. I mean, I think the Hurricanes are just so solid. There's no way you can bet against them. It kind of just depends on whether the Rangers are going to be consistent 5-on-5, because, the Rangers can score on the power play, and their penalty kill is great. They had even a couple shorties in the series against Capitals. But can they score 5-on-5 consistently in a 7-game series against the Hurricanes? That's going to be their biggest test. If I were to guess right now who's going to win this series, I would probably say the Hurricanes, even though in my bracket I have the Rangers. I don't know. I mean, you can make a case for either side. I will be cheering for the Rangers, but I mean, it's going to be a good series. Game 1 is today, as of, the recording of this video. Yeah, we'll see, man. It's going to be a good series, but that's Canes versus Rangers, and now we will talk about the Panthers at home against the Lightning. Now, as far as my bracket goes, this was probably the most devastating series of the first round because I was the ballsy guy. This was kind of my, my big upset in the first round. I picked the Lightning to upset the Panthers in round 1 in 7 games. And just game 1, game 2, game 3, goodness sakes was this series frustrating to watch cheering for the Lightning. Because, okay, I mean, you have to give all the credit in the world to the Panthers. But watching the Lightning, it just seemed like they did not have the heart in this series. Like, I lost other series in this round 1, but this one just seemed like the Lightning were slow. And I gotta tell you, I didn't watch. That was a crazy spin move by Wenberg, I think that was. But I didn't watch much Lightning hockey throughout the regular season. But Nikita Kucherov gets like 146 points in the year, 100 assists, and I'm watching him through this playoff series, and I just don't see it. I feel like after watching this series, he might be the most overrated player in the league. He was not only shut down completely offensively, but he just looked slow. He was turning the puck over. He was slipping on the ice in some of the games, and he was just a non-factor. And you gotta give it up for Captain Steven Stamkos, and we'll see if he gets a contract. I don't see him going anywhere other than Tampa, re-signing with Tampa again. That dude played his freaking ass off in this series. He was pretty much the only Tampa Bay Lightning player that was in this series. It seemed like everyone else was slow and just not playing to their full potential. And other than Stamkos, I'd say Vasilevsky. I was saying in my bracket prediction that I was basically gambling on Vasilevsky to have a prime Vasilevsky playoff performance, and he didn't play bad. He honestly played really good, but when the team in front of you is just not doing their part, and not only that, but the Panthers just played so damn good. The Panthers' forecheck and energy was just absolutely there, and Tampa wasn't. Florida goes up 3-0 in the series. Tampa should have absolutely won Game 2, but Sergei Bobrovsky stole it. And he stole that game, and then it goes to OT, and Carter Verhaeghe, 2 minutes into OT, just a nasty backhand play with pretty much little to no defense from Tampa. Yeah, this was a frustrating series to watch, cheering for Tampa. You have to give it to Florida. They just played pretty much absolutely perfectly. They are the team to beat. we'll get into the Leafs Bruins series here in a bit, but I think the Panthers are just going to absolutely smoke Boston in the second round. Florida looks too good. Boston looks like they have too many holes. Boston can't score. They couldn't score on Ilya Samsonov, Joseph Woll. How do you expect to score on Sergei Bobrovsky and this Florida physical, forechecking aggressive team? I just don't see it. Anyway, um, yeah, the Lightning, I had them winning 2 series. I had them going to the Eastern Conference Finals. That one hurt me the most out of all the round one series matchups. But that's what you get. That's what you get when you bet against Sergei Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers. I took a shot. I was dead wrong. Panthers win this one in 5 easily. I mean, it was hard to watch the Lightning in this series. It really, they just looked so slow, and it looked like they didn't have the heart that some other teams had. Even half the teams lost, but at least they showed fight. It did not look like the Lightning had any fight in them. Um, and the Panthers win in 5. And next we are going to talk about the number one series of the entire playoffs, at least in round one, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Boston Bruins. And oh my god, what a banger this series was. I mean, so I nailed the Rangers sweep the Capitals right on the dot, and this was just another series that, I mean, I'm not going to take as much credit for and brag about because this one was obvious. I mean, if you did not have the Bruins in 7, then I don't know what you're doing. But I had the Bruins in 7. Um, you can't have it any other way. The fact that it also went to OT in Game 7 too just makes it that much better. This was probably the most fun series to watch in round one. I mean, the Bruins dominate games 1 through. Oh, okay, I got scored on there. Was that on the power play? I don't know. Anyway, games tied 1-1, whatever. Bruins go up 3-1 in classic Bruins fashion. But here comes Joseph Woll and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews is out. Who knows why? I don't know. He's got a tummy ache. It don't matter. William Nylander's back. Joseph Woll is an absolute brick wall in the net. The Leafs bring it back in a just shocking defensive style fashion. Okay, like the Leafs all year haven't won except for that stretch where like Martin Jones went off in like December. They were not a defensive team all year. Leafs won games by outscoring their opponents on the offensive end, not the defensive end. But with Austin Matthews out, they changed their play style. They don't give the Bruins any good looks. Joseph Woll was just an absolute brick wall, and he wins both games 5 and 6, both 2-1. Honestly, Game 6 should have been a shutout. I mean, Geeky scores with like 0.1 seconds left. But there was no other way this series was gonna go. It goes Game 7, and literally 10 minutes before puck drop in Game 7, I get first announced pretty much. At least it was exposed to me for the first time 10 minutes before puck drop. Austin Matthews is back. He's playing. And not only that, the more shocking news is that Joseph Woll was injured and Samsonov gets the start in Game 7. Like, what a fucking series. I mean, how it was so exciting, and just the low scoring physical style of hockey was so fun to watch all throughout the series. And I was telling my family that if the Bruins score first in Game 7, it's over. The Leafs aren't coming back from that, but if the Leafs score first, I don't trust them to hold the lead. I think the Bruins still have a chance. In fact, when it went to the third period and it was tied 0-0, I literally said, I hope the Leafs score first so that they can choke the lead and I can get my Bruins in 7. And the Leafs literally scored first, and immediately, like literally a minute later, Bruins came back and tied the game up, and it goes to OT. And a minute into OT, David Pastrnak off just an insane feed. I think it was, I don't even remember who passed it, but I mean, it's just an insane play. Not much Samsonov could do. Samsonov played his butt off in Game 7. It was not his fault. He played great. At the end of the day, both teams struggled to score throughout the whole series. Uh, but yeah, I mean, Bruins at home in Game 7. Swayman is the best goalie in the playoffs as of right now, as we go into the third intermission in this background shell gameplay. But Bruins in 7, it was a lock all the way. We'll talk about briefly Bruins versus Panthers in the second round. I said it before, I'll say it again. Whoever won this Bruins Leafs series was gonna get smoked by Florida. I believe that. I think Florida wins this one in like 5, maybe 4, 6 at the most. But there's just no way. Florida, their depth offensively is just not there. They're not going to be able to score on Sergei Bobrovsky consistently enough to win a 7-game series. These are two physical teams. It's going to be a physical series, probably defensive, low scoring. But I mean, home ice for Florida, the clutch factor, Matthew Tkachuk, Carter Verhaeghe. How can you not just trust Florida so much more in this series than Boston? And another thing I predicted in this Boston-Toronto series, I said it's not going to be who wins the series, it's who's going to choke it. And going into Game 7, it was either Boston was going to choke back-to-back 3-1 series leads in back-to-back seasons, or it was going to be, oh my god, how did that go in? Zibanejad. Okay, anyway. Or it was going to be Toronto losing 7 straight Game 7s, and that's exactly what Toronto did. I feel bad for Leafs fans. I mean, it's funny for a while, but at some point, you're just numb. You don't even laugh anymore. You're just numb to the feeling. You know what's going to happen. I told y'all. Bruins in 7, you knew it was going to happen. You knew that Toronto was going to make a series out of it, and then just disappoint all their fans in the end. There is no other way this series was going to go. Bruins in 7, but, Bruins are going to get smoked by Florida. Florida's going to be playing whoever wins that Rangers-Canes series. I mean, if Bruins pull it out, I'd be shocked. But yeah, that is that banger of a series between the Bruins and the Leafs. And here we go on to the Western Conference finally. Alright, speaking of series that I nailed right on the dots, I'm going to toot my horn a little bit here because we got a couple series going up that I predicted absolutely perfectly. Not that the Oilers smacking the Kings is, a bold prediction or something impressive at all, because they've done it 3 years in a row now. But the Oilers against the Kings, I mean, I said it in my bracket prediction. 2 years ago, Oilers won in 7. Last year, the Oilers won in 6. So with, consistent logic, it would be this year the Oilers win in 5. I guarantee next year the Oilers will beat the Kings in 4. But anyways, I mean, this series was just, it was the same as all the other years of this matchup. I mean, the Kings can't stay out of the box, and when the Oilers go on the power play, the Kings are just awful. They can't stop. McDavid's speed, and the story of the Kings this year was their 1-3-1 trap defense and how they could just shut teams down with that. But when you're playing a team with such speed like the Oilers and Connor McDavid, it's easier for the Oilers. Oh god, that was a terrible pass by the goalie. Anyway, it's easier for teams like Oilers to exploit that, because Connor McDavid can just blow by your defense, and then they're into the zone and they can set up their offense. And don't get me started with the Oilers power play. I mean, they feasted on that shit all series. Not to mention Stuart Skinner played very good, and I think I said it in my bracket prediction. The Kings goaltenders were just not the answer. They were not the right tendies. Riddick was definitely better than Talbot in this series, but it just still was not enough. I mean, the Oilers just overpowered him. The Kings went 0-2 at home. The only time the Kings won was in OT. Anze Kopitar. I mean, you're gonna have, a great game out of guys like him and Doughty. Those are just veterans that can win a playoff game on their own, regardless of your goaltending. Um, but I mean, this one's again. I mean, every series I predict correctly, I'm gonna say it was easy to predict because I predicted it correctly. But um, in my 9-person bracket challenge, only one person had the Kings winning, and it was my dad, and it's because he is an old-time Kings fan. He grew up in LA, and there's a tie game, Flyers, yeah, whatever. But everyone else had the Oilers, and everyone else had the Oilers smacking the Kings. This was pretty easy. We'll see how far Stuart Skinner can take the Oilers in a playoff run. I mean, he's a young goaltender, I believe. It's just his second year in the NHL. Not super tested. He got smacked by Vegas last year. They lost in 6 in the second round. And now the Oilers are on to play the Canucks. I mean, I think the Oilers are healthy. They have a lot of depth, especially down the middle. I mean, out of all the years that the Oilers have had to make a run, I think this is their best opportunity. But we'll see if they are good enough to get past the winner of the next series we will talk about, and that is the Vancouver Canucks against the Nashville Predators. Alright, last series that I predicted absolutely spot on in round 1 is this one, the Canucks versus the Preds. Canucks win this one in 6 games. I didn't expect the Canucks to win in 6 the way they did with all the goalie trouble. I believe I said in my preview that, you know, it's hard to trust Demko just because of all the injury problems, but I believed in him. And the Canucks were just the safer pick, and it was kind of also fading the Preds just because the Preds don't seem to have a lot of playoff luck past few years. But I mean, it kind of came out the way I not expected, but came out in my favor because Demko wins game 1 and gets injured, which is kind of ties into the unpredictability of Demko's injuries. But Casey DeSmith comes in, goes 1-1, and then he gets injured, and Arturi Shilovs, I think that's how you pronounce it, comes in and closes it out for the Canucks. I mean, it doesn't matter who the Canucks put in goal. They found a way to be defensively sound. I love the pickup of Nikita Zadorov, and just his pairing with Tyler Myers. Carson Soucy is healthy. That blue line is physical. They're just solid, you know, and Quinn Hughes obviously is a superstar. He's going to win the Norris. This team looked good. It was another defensive series, and I think Nashville was also super fun to watch. I don't think there was anything to take away from the Nashville Predators other than the fact that they couldn't win a game at home. The 2 games they won were in Vancouver. But, I mean, yeah, there's just so much, only so far that the Nashville depth could take them. Vancouver just has more superstars, better superstars, more depth. Some honestly really entertaining games in this series, but it's Brock Besser and the Vancouver Canucks taking this 1 and 6, and I get another prediction correct in my bracket. But that will be just about the end of the correctness in my bracket predictions, as next we will go to the second most disappointing series for me in round 1, and that is the Winnipeg Jets against the Colorado Avalanche. So by the time I'm recording this, the outcome of the Stars Golden Knights series has not been determined. And so other than the Panthers Lightning series, this is the only other one that I got wrong, as I had Jets in 7, and I was pretty confident about this one too. I liked the Jets' goaltending advantage, I liked their home ice advantage, and the Jets swept the Avs in the regular season. I was all on board on the Jets in this series. And after game 1, I was feeling good, you know, my prediction felt right. I was absolutely hating on Georgiev in my bracket prediction, Georgiev gives up 7 goals in Game 1, and even though Connor Hillebuck gives up 6, it's still the Jets that come out on top. They go up 1-0 in the series, and even with that confidence, I still actually put money on the Avs to win Game 2. So even though I had the Jets winning the series, I just could not see the Avs going down 2-0 in this series. I mean, they're too good. I'm absolutely awful in this shootout, but we'll see what happens. I don't have a lot of time left. But yeah, I mean, the Avs looked phenomenal after Game 1. Georgiev stepped up, and whether it's the Avs looking phenomenal or the Jets' defense just absolutely being non-existent, the Avs tore them apart. And the Avs at home is going to be absolutely scary going forward in the playoffs. Best home team in the league, and they're undefeated in the playoffs, obviously. And Connor Hillebuck was underwhelming to say the least. Not only that, I mean, you can't blame everything on him. He said it himself. That was the best hockey he has ever played. I don't believe that. But at the end of the day, oh, what a shot by Alexis Lafreniere. At the end of the day, he still had like an .890 save percentage. And when you're looking at the Vezina Trophy winner of the regular season, you need Connor Hillebuck to steal a game. And he allowed 5 goals a game throughout the playoffs. And Jesus, the Avs just came in and destroyed him. They destroyed the Jets. And I mentioned how the Lightning series was super frustrating to watch. This Jets series was just sad to watch. As you see me losing the shootouts to the Philadelphia Flyers, that was not fun. Almost as disappointing as the Jets losing to the Avs. And so anyway, the Avs look scary in this playoff run. We'll see who they end up facing up against, whether it's the Stars or the Golden Knights. I think either way, it'll be a super fun matchup. Obviously, I have the Stars beating the Knights. I had the Stars winning in 6. But this series is going to 7. So we'll see who closes it out in Dallas. But yeah, so I go, what's this? At least so far, I'm 5 for 7. So if I go 5 for 8 if the Golden Knights beat the Stars, or I'll go 6 for 8 if the Stars close it out. But anyways, that is my review on round 1 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and I did pretty good. I did pretty good on the series count, but I mean the winners, almost there. Anyways, we'll see who comes out of this Dallas and Vegas Golden Knights series. The winner will play the Colorado Avalanche. That'll be a banger. In terms of the Canucks and Oilers, I have the Canucks winning that one in 7. Well, I mean, with the goaltending issues, we'll see how that holds up. But I'm staying true to my word. I think the Canucks can pull it off against the Oilers in 7. Home ice advantage. We'll see if Demko's healthy. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. It was a fun first round of the playoffs. I think round 2 will be even more fun, and I'll probably have a round 2 review as well. Anyways, thank you for watching, and let me know who you guys think is gonna win the cup, and we'll talk to you. Peace.